Good morning, everybody. I know everybody's been busy and trying to cover high school playoffs, which is always exciting, and basketball. And a lot of great things that are going on, championship games, and got Army-Navy this weekend, which will be fun. It's always fun to watch for coaches while they've got recruiting weekends. I want to congratulate Harris Barton first on being inducted into the National Football Hall of Fame. It's really cool. He's one of the great players to ever play here. He's one of the great players to ever play college football, and then had just an unbelievable career in the NFL. So I was out recruiting last night. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with him, but we had a big group of Carolina people out there with Harris, but want to congratulate him to make sure everybody understands and appreciates the things that he's accomplished. Very excited about going to the Duke Mayo Bowl in Charlotte. This is a good time for our program. It's the third straight bowl for the first time since 2016. It'll showcase high school coaches and high school football in the states of South Carolina and North Carolina. Moving forward, the players will have an easy trip, and at the same time, all their families can come, which is tough in modern-day bowl games, and our fans can be there. So it's great from so many different standpoints. Really excited about Sam Howell playing and all he's accomplished and what he's done. This could be his last game. He hasn't told us for sure yet. But to have a sore shoulder, miss the Wofford game, and go compete like he did and play like he did in our last game is really something special. He's a tough young man, a smart young man. He's been a great leader for us. He's done so many great things. His first game and our first game here was South Carolina in Charlotte. So this is kind of a restart at the end of our third year. Excited about playing South Carolina. Obviously, Shane Beamer's dad, Frank, is a dear friend of mine. He and I went into the Hall of Fame together. We've been friends for many, many years. I watched Shane grow up, and I'm so proud of him. And we didn't meet our expectations this year, and South Carolina did, because a lot of people were talking about the struggles they were going to have, and they had some quarterbacks hurt, and he beat Florida and he beat Auburn. So I'm very, very proud of Shane and look forward to competing against him in this bowl game. Our players they're still going through finals, and always that's a stressful time right after the season. All of our coaches and I are out recruiting every day, so we don't even see the players this time of the year. We will get back for our banquet on Friday night, our senior banquet, and then that'll be the first time our team meets together since last Sunday. We've had one meeting since our last game, and then we'll have our first bowl practice on Saturday. And we have a big recruiting weekend this weekend, and all the recruits get to come and watch us start for bowl practice. And then signing day comes up Wednesday, the 15th. We're anticipating having probably the best signing day in the history of North Carolina football. And it's really exciting. It's been so much fun over the last week and a half to be out and be in schools and see coaches and players again that we didn't get to do through the COVID years for really a year and a half. And you miss it. And it's great to go be able to say thank you to all of the people in the lives of the players that we're signing, and see their excitement as it builds towards signing date. So that's really good for us. We will have an official visit weekend this weekend. Guys will come in on Friday and leave on Sunday, and they'll have a lot of things to do. And then we will practice up until the 23rd of December. And the guys will go home after the morning of the 23rd practice. They'll be home for a day and a half for Christmas. And we'll actually go to Charlotte for dinner on Christmas night. So the guys will get to be at home for Christmas, which is always fun for them. And then they'll get to go start the postseason holidays as such as they get to the bowl game that night. And then we will practice on the next Sunday. None of the players have talked to me about not playing at this point. Obviously, we had one pull out really late last year, so it could still happen. But as of right now, and we met with them all on Sunday, all the coaches have asked the guys about who's playing and who's not. The guys have asked about who might transfer and who might not, because the transfer portal has gotten to be a crazy part of college football. I think there's nearly 800 young people that have gone into the portal since November 1st. It's just absolutely amazing. Every day you have a little buzz on your phone every time somebody goes in the portal. It's just crazy what's happening across the country, and it obviously has changed roster management. And roster management's tougher than ever before because of the COVID year that everybody got back. You're not really sure what year somebody is. You have to look at the academic year and then the years of eligibility they have left. Your super seniors the same way. We have a couple of guys that are looking at the possibility of going at the NFL, but they're still being evaluated, and Coach Moody helps us there to try to see, let them know exactly where we feel like they would be rated, so they can make a decision on whether they would go into the draft or not. And I think they have to make that decision by like January 17th. So they'll play in the bowl game and then meet with some agents and meet with different people and get an evaluation from us. And our job's to give them information, their job's to make the decision on what they want to do moving forward. One of the great things that popped out of Sunday's meeting is British Brooks, who had a tremendous game against Wofford and against NC State, is coming back. He wants to come back for another year, and he looked really good, and that's positive and exciting. So he's such a great person. He's developed into a really good running back, and he's been such a tremendous player on our special teams for the last couple of years. So that'll be a great addition to our team next year, and especially leadership. It's something we've really got to push. We've got a young team, so as we get older, we've got to develop more leaders in each of the rooms. And last, before I answer some questions, proud of this team's fight. We didn't start the season well. We didn't play well on offense at Virginia Tech. We turned the ball over early on offense at Georgia Tech and then kind of caved on defense. And Florida State, we didn't play well on defense. And then we started getting better. And we had a chance at Notre Dame, and 4 or 5 plays hurt us. And then we beat Wake Forest. And then we should have finished the Pittsburgh game, and we didn't. And that's on us as coaches. And we should have finished the state game, and we didn't, because those are games you have to win when you get down to a minute and 16 seconds left and ball first and goal at the 2 to win a game against a team that had their best record since 1981 and won the ACC. It just shows you how close we are to being the great team that we want to be. But our guys and our coaches have to take the next step to make sure that we finish those games when we're in those positions. Questions?
Thanks, Coach. If you have a question, please use the raise hand button. And our first question this morning will come from Greg Barnes.
Good morning, Mack.
Good morning, Greg.
The coaching carousel silly season is in full effect. The early signing day plays a big role in that. You've talked a lot in the past about staff continuity. And at this point in time, Carolina is the only in the Coastal Division that has not had a change at head coach or at one of the coordinator positions. I'm just curious, how do you weigh and balance benefit of staff continuity against the potential need for maybe making a coaching change due to performance?
Greg, it's a great question. In my 33 years as a head coach, what I try to do is, it'll sound very simplistic, I try to see what is best for us moving forward. The worst thing we did this year was we were inconsistent. At times we looked good in all 3 phases, and then at times we looked inept at all 3 phases. So I'm in the process of sitting down with every coach and every staff member and going over all the things that I think they did well and telling them what is unacceptable and needs to change. And I'm letting them do the same thing. I'm letting them tell me what they think needs to be fixed in our program. And there's things that we've addressed and I've talked about each year that haven't been fixed, and we've got to fix those. So what you do as a head coach, it's all about obviously what's best for your program. I know more about this program than anybody because I've got more information than anybody, and this is all I do every minute of every day. We may have some coaches leave. They haven't told me they are yet, but we feel like that we know how to do it. We know what to do. We know this program. The staff has had if we close on Wednesday, like I think we will, this will be the best recruiting class in the history of our program. So they've done a great job recruiting, and I thought we as a staff did an average job of coaching. And we've got to do better in that second area. And the better players you get, it helps you coach better. So that's just what I'm looking at and evaluating moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, let's go to Dina King.
Hey, Coach, hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Dina.
One bad thing about not making the ACC championship game, one good thing is you got an extra week of recruiting on, your commits and everything. How important was that?
Dina, it was really, really important. I'd still rather miss that week in recruiting to play in the championship game. So hopefully that's what we'll be doing next year. But it's important, especially when rumors get out from competitors that I'm not going to be coaching and that kind of stuff. It's great for me to be able to go talk to the families and see them face to face and reiterate where we are as a program and show them how close we are to being a great team, not a good team. And we went from being the worst team in the league to the middle of the pack, and now it's time to take another step. And we're getting better, and we've got the ability to do that. But you need to see them face to face. And Dana, I haven't been able to see the high school coaches, so this is great for me to be able to see them. We've got or championship games this weekend on our campus. I won't be able to talk to the coaches because we're hosting the game, so I can't see the game and I can't see the coaches. So it's wonderful when you can walk in that school and see the principal and see the athletics director and see the teachers that have taught these young people. And these guys are so proud when they walk you around to meet their teachers, and you see the gleam in the teacher's eye about how special he is and how he's committed to us. And I think it's important for me to say thank you to the people that are in the support group for these young guys, but I also think it's important for the players to go back and say thank you. And that's what the last few days are about. As soon as this is over, I'll be hopping on a plane and headed out for the rest of the day and tonight, and then tomorrow I've got all day, and then Friday I'm all day, and then Friday night I'll get back just in time for the banquet. We'll have our practice and recruiting on Saturday. We'll have our recruiting and practice on Sunday, but after Saturday, you can't go back out. So it's dead, I think, until January 17th. So we've got to get all of our work done this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
C.L. Brown, go ahead.
Hey, Mack, I was hoping you could kind of bring some clarity for me with Sam's situation. It seems like for the better part of a year, the assumption has been that he's going to turn pro, but as I said, he hasn't told you guys yet. To quote Dumb and Dumber, are you saying a chance that he could come back? Are you opening yourself up for that possibility, or it's more just technically he just hasn't told you, but the assumption is still he's gone?
Yeah, CL, the fact is that our program wouldn't be where it is today without Sam. He has been unbelievable for 3 years. He's a warrior. A lot of guys would not have played in our last game because they had a hurt shoulder, and he's worried about the NFL, so he would have just not played in that game. And not only did he play in the game, he said, run me, man. Do whatever we need to do to win the game. He's an unbelievable young guy, and he is tough as nails. He is also such a team guy that he's handled the NIL, which is crazy right now across the country. He's handled it so well with our team and in the locker room that when he's gotten opportunities, he pulls all the other teammates in with him. And it's not surprising to me. Then he comes up and says, I want to play, Coach. I want to play in the bowl game. This is important. We need to win. We got to finish this thing right. And the other part of that, CL, that answers your question is he's going to be a first-round draft choice in my estimation. His family is getting information just like all the other guys to make that decision. Normally, we've told our guys, if you're a first rounder, go. But he doesn't want to be a distraction for the team, just like on senior day or before the bowl game, and start talking about something else. He's all about the team, and he's all about winning. And I couldn't appreciate all he's done for this program anymore. But again, our job is to give him information. He and his family's job is to make the decision on what's best for him. And we stay out of those decisions completely. I've seen it in a situation where a coach talked one into coming back and he didn't want to come back, and he played awful and he was miserable. And so it's like recruiting. We tell recruits who we are. If they want to come, fine. If they don't, we're not going to talk them into it, and especially with the transfer portal. They can be here 3 days and leave now. So it's you need to get guys that want to be here, and you need to have guys that are coming back that want to come back. But good for Sam that he doesn't want to talk about him before this game. He knows this game's important for us, and we didn't finish a couple that would have given us 8 wins and have a chance to win 9 games in the bowl game. And we came short on those games, so it's really important to him that we finish right.
And another side, something you said at a previous press conference in terms of early enrollees, and maybe this is better suited for the 15th, but do you anticipate actually having some of those kids practice in Charlotte with you guys before the bowl?
Another good question, CL, because it's new. We've got 9 early enrollees that are preparing to come to school in January. And obviously we can't say who they are till after the 15th. What happens is, in this rule, when you are through with your work in high school and you have to have acknowledgement from the high school, we have to have a letter, an email that says he is done with his high school work, then he can come on our campus after signing date and he can practice with our team here. He can't get bowl gifts, but he can practice. Then when you leave your campus to go to the bowl site, they cannot go to the bowl site with us. So they would only be practicing on our campus, and you have to have an orientation before you can even put pads on. So I would think that most of these guys that can come in, and some will not be able to because they don't graduate in time, but most of the guys that will come in will be in shorts. They'll get their physical, they'll move into their room, they'll get to practice in shorts, they'll get to do some drills, they'll get to be in the meeting rooms, and it'll help with some of the anxiety that they will have when they would come in January by coming early. And that's what we're hoping. I doubt if any will be in pads. They'll probably be here 3-4 days if they get to come, but still it'll be kind of an orientation for them. They can get their classes set up for January. They can just get ahead. And they like the fact that they can leave their stuff in their room and then they don't have to carry it back when they come in January. But to clarify, they can't get any bowl gifts and they cannot practice off our campus or anybody else's. So when we go to Charlotte, they're through until they would report probably around January 7th. And a lot of these guys, a lot of these guys are in all-star games. So we'd have to be really, really careful that one of them didn't sprain an ankle or beat a shoulder down and miss his all-star game as well. So it'll be more of an orientation and get them used to practice and get them around the setup, but they'll probably be in shorts.
Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, as you mentioned, I know you guys have been out grinding on the road, but you said that you did talk with the staff some. How much of the regular season have you been able to digest so far and discuss with the staff? And with that in mind, you mentioned the inconsistency. There were periods with all 3 phases were outstanding. There were periods with all 3 phases were completely the other way. How do you weigh where the program is, where those units are with the outstanding versus the not so outstanding? And how does that affect maybe some of the conversations you have over the next few weeks with the staff?
Andrew, these meetings have been brutal. I mean, I've asked them to say whatever's on their mind because we got to get some things fixed, and this year was not what we want. We could have taken a horrible start and finished really strong, and we didn't. We were a play or two away, and we got to figure out how to do that. We got to figure out why we start so poorly on the road offensively. It's just unacceptable. We've got to figure out why we're still not as good in red zone, both sides of the ball. We've got to practice differently. We've got to figure out why. I love to go for 4th and 2, 4th and 3, and we're not as good at that. Obviously, you watched Javonte play the other day, and that helps you some when you start looking at that sucker running over pro players like he did college players. So what we've got to do is, I've gone through every game. I've gone through it with the entire staff. I've gone through it individually. I've gone through it with the coordinators. Why did we get two block punts in the NC State game? What happens? Why did our punt game, who was one of the best in the country, go to average to poor at the end? We blocked 6 punts, I think. We're maybe 4th in the country in block punts, but we've got to protect better. We've got to punt better. This is an exciting time that I can take everything that all of us know needs to be fixed and have hard conversations with, tell me why it's not fixed and tell me what you're going to do to fix it, or I have to get involved more. And that's just, those are the hard conversations we've had. And I will say to a staff member, they all are in total agreement with me. They're not ducking anything. They understand exactly where we did what we did well and what we did poorly. They've taken full responsibility for it. So nobody's mad. Nobody's acting like they're going to run out and point fingers at somebody else. Everybody gets it, and we've just got to keep moving forward and get better.
With respect to you saying over the last month of the season how close you guys are, and staying on this topic, is it a matter of just some of the personnel getting a little bit more ready, more in place to actually be able to make some of the plays that weren't made this past season? And in conjunction with that, maybe a little bit of tweaking with what you guys are doing. Are you confident that's probably what the answer is to finding more consistency?
Yeah. Andrew, let's take, for instance, in our last game, if the offense makes another 2 first downs or scores a touchdown, there's not 2 minutes and 12 seconds left on the clock. So that's 4-minute offense. And then, obviously, defensively, if we make a stop, the game's over. And then on special teams, if we get the onside kick, the game's over. So those are obvious things that we need to fix. And you're right, some of it's tweaking. Some of it's getting a little bit older as a team. We had a tremendous recruiting class last year. We're going to have a better recruiting class this year. Most of our team is freshmen and sophomores. So we've got to learn to win. I've told them, and it was kind of sick humor on Sunday when we met with them. I said, I've been telling you, give us everything you've got. And they do. They play so hard. And it doesn't matter if they're ahead, behind, and I'm so proud of that. But I also said, I'm going to add something. Give us all you've got and figure out a way to win the game at the end, because that's what we're not doing. And some of my great friends, everybody just obviously tells you what you think. It's one of the problems. I got so many great friends here. All of them tell me what they think. Sometimes it doesn't sound very good. They all said, so your team runs on the field when you get ahead of Wake Forest and gets a penalty. And that's a lack of discipline. And then why do they run on the field against NC State and get the same penalty? And I said, well, the good news is they knew how important the game was, and they were really excited, and they thought they had a chance to win. The bad news is we sacked the bats too early, and we weren't very disciplined. So I said I'd rather them be so excited that they run on the field, and I'm going to have to teach them not to, instead of them being so flat and it didn't matter. But we got to grow up, and that's we were all really excited, and the game was important, and we played really hard and played really well, and we didn't finish. So I think you're right in everything. We got to have guys step up and make plays when it's their turn. We've got to coach them to make those plays better and get in better position. We've got to tweak some things that are obvious that we're not doing as well. And then one game we go out there and we rushed for 290 or something the other night, and we've got to run the ball, and we're still not protecting well enough. We've gone back through every sack. We've gone back through every reason for every sack, every player. We've gone through every penalty, who's had too many penalties and why. We're looking at every position for the spring to see we should move around and who should be at a different spot, who's not carrying their load where they are. So we're looking at why was our kickoff return so poor? Throughout the year, we had 2 that were good in 12 games, and that's unacceptable. So we're looking at we've got to get more push up front on both sides of the ball. Why do we run for 496 or something against Virginia and then 88 against Pittsburgh? Or 120 against Pittsburgh. So we're looking hard, and we've asked everybody to be very, very critical of their self-evaluation, and we're looking hard at the reasons that we didn't didn't start like we should have or finish like we should have. And when you have a great opponent like Virginia Tech on the road in front of a tremendous crowd, that's about as tough as it gets. You got to understand that. You got to know. And you got to be ready to play midseason ball in the opener. And we didn't do that this year against Virginia Tech. And really, we didn't do it last year against Syracuse. We started very poorly in that game. We won it in the second half, but we got to start better. And that's just another thing that we're looking at. Do we need to script plays to start? And also, we don't need to worry about how many points we get or how many yards we get. We got to worry about winning the game. So we've got to work better with each other to make sure that at Miami, offense played great for 3 quarters, and we absolutely stunk the 2 times we got the ball in the fourth quarter. And the Miami game shouldn't have been that close if we moved the ball and killed the clock. But we have 2 3-and-outs immediately and let Miami get back in the game, and people cuss the defense. Really and truly, we got to do better on offense in those situations too. So we did a better job the other night in 1 minute before the half. That's something we haven't done very well. So we've got to do a better job in 1 minute before the half on defense. We've done pretty good with 1 minute on offense, but we're not very good at 3rd and 2s and 4th and 2s, and we got to figure all that out. So we'll be looking really, really hard at those situations. We've been here 3 years. It's time to get those things fixed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ross Martin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Brown, I got 2 things for you here. You mentioned the transfer portal. How are y'all approaching it now, kind of in the off season? Obviously, with a lot of coaching changes, a lot of movement with player movement. Are y'all actively seeking out players, recruiting players, and how are y'all approaching it now?
I'm sorry, Ross, right at the end again, the last thing you said.
I mean, just basically, how are you approaching the transfer portal? Are you actively out recruiting and seeking players who've entered the portal now that there's so much movement and so many players in it to try to improve your team, improve your talent? So.
Yes. I was one of those, Ross, that didn't really like it, and that doesn't matter. Wake up and get in the real world here because it's happening. It's real. I'm looking at people who have taken 12 or 13, and they're really good players. Our graduate school wasn't structured to help us when we first got here, so that slowed us down as well. We think we're in a better position now. We're still not there, but we're better. So we are looking at the positions of need for us, and we're looking at what high school players can come in January or June and help fill those needs. But we're also looking more aggressively at the portal every day. We have people that check it every day, and it's amazing how many are popping out and really good players. And it seems like a lot of times, a lot of the guys that are in the portal at midseason are guys who aren't playing very much. But when a coaching staff either leaves or gets fired, some really good players are going into the portal. So that's different. We don't want to bring an average player in. If we bring somebody in, he needs to be a contributor and a guy who could start. So we are looking very, very carefully at every name that comes into the portal. In fact, I've quit sending them to Billy High, our recruiting coordinator, because he said, I already got it, he can't play here. Already got it, he's got some issues. I said, I got you, Billy, just you send them to me. if you think they have a chance. And Ross, on the other side of ours, we have not changed our philosophy. We want our players to be happy, and we want our players to want to be here. So I've told every one of them, if you aren't happy with your situation, go in and talk to your coach. Come in and talk to me. And if we tell you it's probably not going to change and you're going to be a backup and a special teams player, and that's not good enough for you, don't gripe. That's just the opinion of the coach, in my opinion, and we have to win, no matter how much we like you. So if you want to go in the portal, you can get in the portal now in about 5 minutes. It's amazing. You get on an app, and you can get in the portal. Compliance has to approve it, and you all get the notice. So, I mean, it happens that fast. And then I've told our coaches and our players, these are North Carolina football players. If they don't want to be here and they feel a need to leave, it's our responsibility to help them because we got them here. And I'm proud that every one of our guys that has left, we have been able to help get somewhere. And I want it to be positive. So I want the kids calling back. Even when kids are at other places, we check on them. We call after a year and say, how are you doing? Everything good? So it's just part of the new world, and it's really strange and it's weird. But it's the part of being a head coach that's different that you got to handle. The roster management you got to handle. That people say, is it easy? No, you got no clue. When we started this thing last spring, we had 4 scholarships, and now we're up to where we've got enough that we can sign the guys that we need to. So, and who's going to leave after spring, Ross? That's the other thing. There's really no guidelines to this thing. So if a guy goes through spring and he's not happy, you could lose 2 running backs or 3 running backs in the summer that aren't happy with their status, and then you don't have any running backs. I mean, it's a scary thing. So more than ever before, you have to recruit people that want to be at North Carolina, and you feel like they'll stay here. And then what I'm trying to do is get each one that comes to stay till he gets his degree. Get your degree in 3 years like Sam Howell's going to. And then if you're not happy with your status, you've got a North Carolina degree, and then we'll get you somewhere where you can play for 2 more. And that's what I'm trying to get. We're trying to get some continuity with that moving forward. But I do think, and I probably took too long with this, but I do think that your question is right. We've got to do a better job of looking at the portal, and if there's somebody that can help our team immediately, when we've got a really young player that may be a great player that's going to take a while, then we need to be more aggressive at trying to get that young person to come here.
And quickly, you mentioned British Brooks is coming back. It was that y'all trying to maybe needing more depth in the running back room, seeing what he did against NC State, his decision, just briefly on kind of what he brings, what he adds in that process.
He's one of the best leaders on our team. He's an amazing story of a walk-on who gets himself into school, and he's a tremendous student. And then he's special teams player of the year all the time. And we tried to take him out of the game on special teams the other night, and he absolutely refused because he was playing so much in the game at running back, and he would not come off. So we've got to get stronger leaders. And after the game, he was so disappointed that so many of the kids were sitting there and their heads down crying. That's why I'm sitting there talking to them, and then I've got to come and talk to you. And everybody said, you look tired and you look worn out. Well, you are. It's just, you can't lose a game like that. But British said after the game, boy, I hate this. I wish I could play some more. And then I think one of the coaches says, you can. And then he talks to Larry Porter the next week, and I talked to him, I think, Monday. And he said, Coach, I want to do this again. And I don't know, Ross, we struggled some in the Orange Bowl last year running the ball against A&M, and they're a great defense. But he looked like he gained so much confidence against Wofford. And then we saw the same thing against NC State. He looked fast. He looked powerful. He can catch the ball. He's a great blocker. So I don't know. I think he can be a force in that running back room moving forward. And like Ty Chandler was the older guy that came in from Tennessee last year, I think British will be that guy. And we need to do a better job of having a great leader in every unit. And there's no question British Brooks will be a great leader. And they gave him a standing ovation Sunday, I guess. Yeah, so he came in Sunday, I guess, before the meeting. And the team gave him a standing ovation Sunday when I said, there's people opting out across the country. There's people going to the portal across the country. I said, coaches are going into the portal. So there's no question. It's crazy. I assured them I was going to be their coach and I wasn't going anywhere. But I said, but one of the most positive things is a guy who's self-made, that is a wonderful story, that's fought himself into starting as a special teamer, then fought him to get a position as a starting running back, is coming back, British Brooks. And I mean, the room just went crazy because they love British Brooks. And what a wonderful story. And I've never seen anybody happier than when I talked to him Sunday. He is so excited about the bowl game and moving forward.
Great, thank you.
All right, Miguel, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Once again, you have had 6 players named to all ACC teams. What does that mean to you as coach, and what have you said to those players?
Miguel, we don't talk a lot about individual awards here, but we also, we really appreciate their accomplishments. And in football, you got to have all the guys around you to help guys get awards. And at the same time, we always tell them privately how much we appreciate them. These guys are not about individual awards. They're actually about team and team wins, and I love that about them. But we very, very seldom talk about individual awards.
Okay, let's go over to Ben Portnoy.
Mack, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you coached against Frank Beamer his first year at Virginia Tech when you were still at Tulane. But if you remember it, do you remember that at all? And I guess secondly, what's kind of y'all's relationship been like through the years, and as well as your relationship with Shane?
Yeah, Frank and I are very close friends. We've spent time together at all the Nike trips and all the conventions, and he's one of the nicest human beings there's ever been. I mean, our kids used to hang out with Shane when he was young, and we just watched him grow up. So Frank's one of the best friends I have in coaching, and he's one of the nicest people. And Stacy Searles on our staff worked for him. And when we went to Virginia Tech this year, the first guy I saw to hug his neck was Frank on the field before the game, and he looks great. And now he's spending all of his time at South Carolina pulling for his son. So it's fun to watch him be so excited. He said it was easier to coach my own team than watch your son coach. And then Shane's a superstar in coaching. He's been all over the country at top jobs now, and he's been coordinator at those places. I was so excited for him, and everybody talked about how tough the South Carolina year was going to be and all the things they were fighting. And then he comes up and beats Florida and beats Auburn and nearly beats Missouri on the road. And he has done a tremendous job coaching. So I can't wait to see him. He and I talk some on the phone about coaching. But I'm so proud of him, and he's killing it. He's doing a great job in his first year at South Carolina, and I'm really, really proud of him. It's kind of like an extended family member for Sally and I.
Okay, Colin Taylor.
Mack, you just kind of touched on it a little bit, but obviously Shane inherited a situation where they won 2 games the year before, and you did that kind of coming into North Carolina and went to a bowl. How hard is that to do in year 1 of coaching, and what's that say about the job his staff, and the players have kind of done this year?
I've always felt like it either really works in your first year or it doesn't. Colin, it's really interesting to see. Either if things turn on you and the players think you didn't care about them, and it's they're guys from the previous staff, and you don't care, it can go really bad. And we were fortunate at Texas. We were able to, I think, win 9 the first year. And here we were fortunate to win 7 the first year. And the guys bought in, and it was fun. And there's nothing better than taking a team that is really struggling, and ours was the bottom of the league, and turn it into a bowl team. That's so much fun. And I've seen Shane do that. They got better at the end of the year, and they kept getting better. And then you think, well, they can't beat Florida. Well, they can't beat Auburn, and they do. And then you're looking at a road game with Missouri, and it comes down to 31-28. So I think he's a very upbeat, very positive, tremendous amount of energy as a young coach. and I think he'll be a superstar. And he's got the best consultant in the world in his dad to sit there. And I'm sure Frank says, I wouldn't do that, brother. Nope, tried that in 1984, and that didn't work, so don't do that. That's kind of what Coach Royal did for me at Texas. And so Shane has a Hall of Famer right over his shoulder, kind of like Kyle Shanahan does with the 49ers with Mike. It's just fun to see. And Ben, I do remember the game at Tulane. I think it's one we blew them out, and it was unusual. We didn't stop them, they didn't stop us. It was a really high-scoring game. And then the game that I left here to go to Texas, we played a Frank Beamer team in the Gator Bowl, and that's one game I missed. So that would have been the 2 times we would have had interaction. But I remember we were both struggling at the same time, and it's funny that Frank was able to turn his. I can remember things have changed so much. One year somebody in the media said, if Frank can win 5 games next year, if he wins 6 games, he gets to keep his job. And I think I was 2-20. So I was trying to get to 5. So it was, it's funny when you look back and see those years and how people are firing people after 2 years and 2.5 years. And back then, Frank and I would have been fired really fast if we'd been in this modern day scenario.
All right, Corey Diaz, go ahead.
Mack, so you've mentioned, knowing Shane since he was growing up. I'm curious for yourself personally, is it rejuvenating to square off have someone like that on the other sideline who you've known for a large portion of their life, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I'm still doing this, I'm still winning games, getting to bowl games, putting our teams in position to win a lot of games. Is it rejuvenating for you that, at your age that you're still able to do this?
Corey, it is. And I want us to do better. I mean, our goal is to win the ACC, win the Coastal, win the ACC, and win a national championship. And I'm not sure we took a step back because I'm not sure we were as good as everybody said we were. When you look at the 5 players that left, they had a heavy load and they carried a whole lot of us. We scored a whole lot of points with those guys, and we're not as good right now without them. So we've got to build back to that, because to Coach Fedora's credit, all those guys but Sam were recruited by him, and they're all playing on Sunday. But I do feel like that one of the joys in my life is when an older coach would help me, and he'd reach out to me, and he was good to me. And I'm definitely in that older range now, Corey. So when I can help young coaches, when I can be around them and try to help them like older guys help me, it's a joy. When I have so many dear friends in coaching, and it's hard because you like them so much, you respect them so much, then you recruit against them and it gets sensitive. Then you coach against them, it gets sensitive, so you have to wait till the off season until you speak again. But just the fact that Frank and I grew up at Shane's age as young coaches, and now to look back and see who I was at that time as compared to who I am now, it's really fun. And Sally and I, Frank and Cheryl used to send us their Christmas cards all the time with their little kids in it, and we'd send them ours. And I remember those Christmas cards. I probably ought to try to find one now. But it's now I'm coaching against a guy that's a really good coach, and it's not that little guy in the Christmas card anymore. It's a guy that's done a tremendous job, and I'm proud for him, and he's doing it right, and I like it. We play them again in Charlotte in 2 years, so this is again a great border rivalry. But I'm a Shane fan. I'm pulling for him, and I don't want him to do well in our game, and I don't want him to do well in 2 years, but I want him to do well and be successful. And when guys like him do well, it'll help college football.
Okay, we'll close up today with Art Jansky.
Hey, Mack, you were riffing before on the portal, and you said coaches can enter the portal. Was that just a facetious statement, or is there something that they can do more out front now than maybe talking to people on the sly in the past.
Yeah. Art, it was absolutely a smart aleck statement that gets me in trouble and I'm not supposed to do in front of the media. And Jeremy's sitting over there shaking his head when I said it. He said, oh my gosh, don't say that stupid stuff. Here is what's happened, I think, is because we've got an early signing date and because the transfer portal for kids is so prevalent, athletics directors are making decisions about coaches earlier than ever before. So we're having coaches fired during the season. I think one was fired maybe the third, fourth game. And then that affects every other coach that's got a job because people are calling them and asking them if you're leaving in the fourth week or the fifth week. And that's an awkward answer because really and truly the agents are handling all this anyway. The coaches aren't talking to them, the agents are. It's just changed. But the athletics directors feel pressure that if you don't hurry up and change, your guy might get taken by somebody else. The second part of that is with the transfer portal, if your team doesn't have a head coach, guys on your team may be opting to go somewhere else, so they're hopping in the portal faster. And the third part of that is recruiting is so aggressive now, and especially with social media, that a lot of the top recruits that your current coach has, when you fire him or when he leaves for another job, kids are leaving. So what I told the kids is that I wasn't for the transfer portal, but if you're not happy with your current situation and you can't change it, I've got it, let's fix it and help you get somewhere else. And I said, that's not bad, that's okay. Because I told them coaches are doing the same thing. It's called coaching carousel. But coaches now are making $8 and $10 million to change jobs. And I've got that too. And everybody's really, really critical of a coach. I don't think there's any of us that if somebody offered you $10 million, you'd probably look at it for 10 years. So as critical as we are of other people, I tried to tell the players, it's wrong of me to be critical of you if you want to change your situation. I'll try to help you. It's wrong for me to be critical of an assistant coach if he comes in and tells me, like Robert Gillespie last year, I want to be a pro coach. Alabama's got 2 pro coaches on their offensive staff, 75 miles from my mother. I got it. Good for you. So I've got that. So then people shouldn't be critical of these coaches that are making decisions that are best for their family when every one of us would do the same thing. And none of us are in their situation. So, because I heard a couple of players say, how can that coach leave? How can he leave the program? I said, how do players leave the program? How do assistant coaches leave the program? So I think we're at a point where the game is different. And the ones that are going to be successful are the ones that are going to flow with it and learn from it and adjust to it. And if you're not going to, you're going to be miserable because it is different. It is totally different than ever before, and it'll continue to get different. So, but I didn't want players critical of coaches for leaving when players are doing the same thing. What we've all got to understand, if a guy wants to go to the NFL, whether I say or not he's good enough, doesn't matter. We get him the information. If he wants to go, we support him. Whether a guy wants to opt out of the bowl game or not, whether we like it or not, it's really, we can have an opinion, but it's not our decision. And I would lean on the side of not being critical of anybody about a personal decision they make because I don't have all the information. And that's kind of art where this whole thing comes from. And am I surprised at some of it? Yes. It doesn't matter. It's not my decision, and really nobody cares about my opinion about what somebody else did because it's their personal choice. And we're in a society right now where a lot of people have a lot of opinions about somebody's personal choice, and really and truly it's none of their business.
Great answer, Coach. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Art.
All right, Coach, we really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you all. I don't know when Jeremy will get us together again. just you, I know you got basketball and you got a lot of things going on, so you all kind of suggest, I don't know if it's next week, halfway through practice, or when we get to the bowl. So I know it's a slower time this week for us, but if when you need to see us again, just kind of let Jeremy know, and we'll have it. I don't think right now, Jeremy, we have anything scheduled. So, okay. So you all kind of guide us on what you need. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mac.